Why would he do this to me? He said he loved me. Is he just incredibly flawed, or is he just genuinely a bad person? It's tricky, right? I have my own thoughts about this. If you're wondering right now, is my husband just a really horrible human being for what he did? Because you probably see him like that. Let's talk about it. Stay tuned. I'm going to go ahead and lay on the table right now, and I hope you still watch this video, but I'm going to lay on the table right now because you know I'm a person of faith. I do not believe human beings are born evil. I don't. I believe that Jesus died on the cross for us because we are all sinners. We all have the ability to make horrible choices in life, but I don't believe that my husband is a bad person. I don't. Matter of fact, I think he's a good person that really made a very bad choice. So let's unpack that a little bit, okay? So, because there's more underneath this. I think when we ask the question, is my husband just a really bad person? Or if one of my clients were to say to me, when I look at him now, I don't like him. I'm like, who is this guy? This is not the guy I married. And I don't even know him anymore. If you're wondering that and you're kind of going through that same dialogue in your head, like, I don't know who he is he just a bad person? I don't know. Am I married to this? Do I want to be married to a bad person? Okay, if that's kind of your train of thought, let's think about this for a minute. And I want to introduce you to a concept if I haven't already. Humans are flawed. We all have the capability of making really, really crappy choices that can harm other people. Sometimes we do it unintentionally, and sometimes we know very well it could harm the other person, but we choose to keep it a secret because if what they don't know won't hurt them, which is typically the case in an affair, right? I don't think people go out and have affairs knowing in their mind that they're going to get caught. I think they assume they're not going to, which is delusional, I know, but that's just the reality. And people who have affairs, inherently having an affair is an incredibly selfish choice, right? It's a choice people make because it's about them. It's their impulse, it's their desire, it's their need for whatever it is that's generating their desire to have the affair in the first place, right? So if selfishness is part of all of us, then we all have the ability to do selfish things. Our husband did something incredibly selfish. And if you're watching this, then you have found out about it. So he didn't keep it a secret, even though he assumed nobody was ever going to find out. And when they didn't know what hurt them, you found out, right? So now you're wondering, am I married to a sociopath? Am I married to a narcissist? Is this person horrible? And I can't answer any of that when it comes to personality disorders. Let me be clear. If those are actual diagnosed personality disorders, being a sociopath, being a narcissist, those are things that need to be diagnosed. And I'm not going to go into that here because I am not a psychiatrist. However, what I am going to say is if your husband seems to be doing the things, they're remorseful, they feel guilt about what they did, they may even feel shame, they're trying to make the marriage work, then ask yourself, how can I see him as a man who was flawed and made a bad choice, as opposed to seeing him as a bad person? Now, this takes time, I'll be honest. Part of why we see them as a bad person is because we're so incredibly hurt that we're trying to reconcile the fact that, this guy who I love, and I married him. He was amazing. I thought he was the nicest, most honest, wonderful man on the planet. We're reconciling the fact that this guy then made a choice to hurt us deeply. And so we have these two pictures of our husband in our mind, because this guy over here who made the choice to have the affair is a guy we don't recognize anymore. This is not the guy we married. So in our hearts and in our minds, we're always doing this dance of trying to reconcile these two things, because never in a million years did we think this guy would do this, right? So how do we look at him differently? How do we see him as a flawed human being who made a bad choice, who's paying for it now with the guilt and the shame, and realizing that they destroyed their family? They have a lot to make amends for. How do we see him differently? Well, the first thing we need to do is to just stop thinking in black and white. And what I mean by that, seeing things in black and white is either you're a good person or you're a bad person. That's black and white. Whereas if you are the type of person who sees the world that way in black and white, let me challenge you for a minute. Affair recovery and trying to stay in your marriage after an affair, that's gray. That is fully, completely in the gray. Because people out there who are judging you for staying with your husband right now, they're thinking in black and white. Your husband cheats on you, you leave. There's no in between. If you're staying in your marriage, you are literally living in gray right now. There is no black and white. First of all of us have a different experience with affair recovery when it comes to the details, right? We all have unique experiences, but it's the same concepts. We've been betrayed, we've been hurt, we're grieving, and we've made a decision. We've made a conscious choice to try to heal our marriage after all of that devastation. So if you are sitting there balancing good husband, bad husband, I'm going to invite you instead to live here in the gray. Just sit with it. It's going to be uncomfortable, but sit with it. Could he be a good person who made a bad choice? Could he be a good person who made a selfish choice? Could he be a good person who truly regrets his actions? Could you literally be in the gray with him for a little bit and try to see that we can carry both sides of that coin? We're all human. Believe me, we all have potential to be that person. So if your answer to all of this is, yeah, I suppose he could be that guy in the gray, I invite you to step into the gray with him for a little bit. Just be there. Just sit in it. It is uncomfortable if you are a black and white thinker. It leads you to struggle with your own, especially if you are, let's say, you are a Christian like me, and to you this is like the absolute worst. How could you do this? You said you are a Christian, so now you're thinking he's a hypocrite on top of everything else. If you are living in that right now, if that's kind of where you are, if you sit in the gray for a little bit, it helps you to stop with the judgments of the black and white and just live in the moment of where you are. It helps you see him as a flawed human and not a bad person, okay? And you don't see him as a good person either. You just see him as the reality of who he is. Making a choice to stay married to this man means we need to have that time in the gray with him. So I invite you to kind of move into that, okay? Move into the gray, move into the opportunity to see him for who he is and not feel like you have to label him as a bad person. And it also helps you take that lens off. We tend to see through a lens of our anger and our bitterness when we look at our husband, because we're hurting so deeply. We kind of want to see them as the enemy. He's not our enemy. He hurt us, but he's not an enemy. The enemy here is how we're seeing them. We need to tackle that enemy. Because if you want to move forward in your marriage, if you want a happy marriage on the other side of this, if you want to heal, and if, now, caveat, If he is doing his part, I can't say that enough. I promise you, I'm not encouraging any of us to live in a marriage with a narcissist who's treating us like crap and not doing any of the work and telling us we're crazy and gaslighting us and all that kind of stuff. I'm saying if your husband is legitimately sorry, he is legitimately, feeling the guilt and the remorse. He truly wants the marriage to work. He really wants to do the work, okay? And he's trying. That's what I'm talking about. That's when we move into that gray with them, okay? Now, it's not going to happen overnight. As long as we are feeling the anger, if we're feeling bitter and resentment, as long as we're in the middle of all of that, it's going to be really hard to sit in that gray, because we're going to want to sit over here with bad guy, bad husband, because that is fueling us right now. That's where we are, and that's okay. But when you're ready, shift to the gray, and then maybe you'll realize that you're not married to a bad person. You're married to a human being, okay? Live in the gray with them for a little bit. And I promise you will start to feel better. You won't be carrying all that negative energy all the time when you're around him. It makes a big difference. Everything we're doing right now is in the gray. Our own affair recovery journey, staying in the marriage with our husband, all of it's in the gray. There is nothing black and white about our situation. And there really doesn't need to be anything black and white about our husband either. He's just as complicated as we are. He's got so many things going on with him, just like our affair recovery and just like us. So try that. Next time you're wondering if you're just married to an awful person, try the gray. See if that doesn't help. I spent quite a bit of time in my affair recovery. I just didn't even know who my husband was, quite honestly. And it took me a long time to get to the gray, but once I did, I actually love my husband more, if that's even possible now, than I did before. His flaws, his mistakes, and how he's overcome them and how far he's come just makes him even more beautiful in my eyes. Because the more we learn from our mistakes, the better people we become. We grow. He's done a lot of growing. I've done a lot of growing. And I want that for all of you. Okay? If you would like someone like me to walk your journey with you, I'm a master certified coach. And I'd love an opportunity to talk with you. My information is in that first link. Is a free video I put together that's really helpful. And you just watch the video, no obligation. And if you want to meet with me, it tells you how to do that. I have a Facebook group down there as well, and a free guide. So make sure you check those out and lean into that gray. I know it's uncomfortable, but just sit in it. Just sit with it and see if that doesn't help you see him a little bit differently.